Hello and welcome to Daily Records. I am Tommy Burton, and for the next few days, for the next week or so, I've decided to run a series of Daily Records focusing on albums of the 80s. Some quite large, some maybe not so much, but I like to keep things a little varied. But we're going to start with one of the biggest albums of the 80s. We're going to talk about Prince and the Revolution, Purple Rain. This was released on June 25th, 1984. And this was the sixth album by Prince. And this was the first one fully credited to his band, The Revolution, even though 1999 does say Revolution on the cover. But this is also serves as a soundtrack to the 1984 film Purple Rain. Now, if you go back to a previous Daily Record, I did talk about the time Ice Cream Castle, which is sort of the companion piece to Purple Rain. But this is the album. There were two singles from this album that went to the top of the U.S. charts. First was When Doves Cry, and also Let's Go Crazy. And just to show you guys, there is the 12-inch maxi single of Let's Go Crazy with the dance mix and all that good stuff on it. Just to show you guys that one, because I happen to have it. This was a huge hit album. The title track, Purple Rain, is a well-known song. It's a ballad. It went to number 2 on the Billboard charts. And this album has gone 13 times platinum. That's diamond status. So it's sold quite a few. Looking at my information, by 2008, this thing sold over 25 million copies worldwide. And it marks it as one of the best-selling soundtrack albums of all time. And it's generally regarded as one of the greatest albums in musical history. And so, take that for what it is. Mine is not the purple one. Mine is the reissue that came out. And so, just showing you guys the fold in there. But it is not a purple vinyl edition. Like I said, it was released in '84. Prince wrote all of the songs on the album, but he did have some input from his band members. I Would Die For You, Baby I'm a Star, and Purple Rain. They were recorded live in 1983 at the First Avenue Club in Minneapolis, which is Prince's hometown. And, of course, there was some overdubs and edits done to those recordings. That concert was a benefit show for the Minnesota Dance Theater, and it also was the first appearance of Revolution guitarist Wendy Melvoin, who was a longtime member of the Revolution. There's another track on here, Take Me With You. That was intended for the Apollonia 6 album, and Prince pulled it back and he put it on this one. And according to the keyboard player, the doctor in the band, Matt Fink, Dr. Fink, he said that Prince played all the instruments on Take Me With You, except for the string overdubs. And so, because of that, there's a track on here called Computer Blue that clocked in at about 14 minutes long. And it got cut due to that, the timing restraints. But there were some other songs on here, the beautiful ones, the ballad "Darling Nikki" and "When Doves Cry." Those are all Prince recordings. This album, because I think it was a band setting, it has a little bit more of a dense sound to me than the previous Prince albums. All the other Prince albums were just sort of him in the studio playing everything. But this one actually emphasized the band aspect, the players in the band. There's multiple guitars, synthesizers, drum machines. There's a lot of things going on. But the album is sort of rooted in Prince's R&B roots. Now, you know, to me, what made guys like Prince and Michael Jackson, what really set them apart from a lot of traditional R&B artists was that they included elements of rock and pop. And this is definitely a pop-oriented album, but it had a lot of appeal. But there's a lot of styles on here: pop, rock, R&B, even some dance stuff. And so I think that's probably an explanation for the large appeal for this album. And you probably know most of the songs on here. When Doves Cry, which was a big hit thanks to the music video. I Would Die for You, the title track. Also of note was the track Darling Nikki, which featured some risque lyrics that I'm not going to repeat, but it did tip off what later became the PMRC and Tipper Gore, and it led to Warning albums being placed on albums by the late 80s. Also, on a side note, this album did win 2 Grammy Awards: Best Rock Vocal Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal, and Best Score Soundtrack for Visual Media. It also was nominated for Album of the Year, but did not win. And so Prince was really, this is what really put Prince like in the mainstream. He was all over the place. And this put him as one of the major stars of the 80s. Now, this album traded places back in 84, 85 with another album that is coming up. Hint, hint. Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. And so these 2 albums were kind of going at it for that. But all 5 singles that came off of this album, they were all worldwide hits. And incidentally enough, as I like to point out, Rolling Stone magazine listed this as one of the great albums of all time, and it was also ranked as one of the best albums of the 80s, and I tend to agree. I think this album really sort of encapsulates everything you need to know about Prince, about his music. It sums it up. It's the sort of pinnacle of everything he had been doing. It has some of the experimental stuff, even some psychedelic type stuff. I mean, Prince is a great combination of Miles Davis, Jimi Hendrix, and James Brown, all kind of rolled up into one guy, Sly Stone. All were big influences on Prince, and those influences really show here. And it's just it's a solid record all the way through, and it deserves all the accolades it gets. So today's Daily Record, kicking off our series in the 80s, is Purple Rain by Prince and the Revolution. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I love interacting with you guys. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's TommyBurton75. In the meantime, I will see you all again tomorrow with another Daily Record.